Here in the United States, we're facing significant impacts from wildfire. We've seen incredible growth in wildland areas, and we're dealing with an ever-changing climate, all of which add to how often and how severe our wildfires get. This puts a great stress on our communities, forests, and grasslands. There are several ways to address these impacts, but we can't do it alone. How can we work together to better prepare ourselves and our communities to handle wildfire?
Fires know no boundaries. Addressing wildland fire is more than just a wildland fire management issue. It is a complex land management and societal issue. And as wildland fire managers, we have a critical role to play in creating a partnership with our communities.
How's it going?
Fire prevention and education teams and other resources are critical to meet that challenge.
I think this is going to work.
Fire prevention teams can be used and are used during high fire danger times.
Fire is over.
It's their time to get the word out to the public about the cohesive strategy, to talk about resilient landscapes, fire-adapted communities, and fire response, and get them behind you in that effort to look at a long-term fix to the fire threat across the nation.
When we start thinking about community protection and what other stories could be told, or we talk about resilient landscapes and the value of that to people and their communities, a prevention team is a great way to bring freshness and highlight what are frequently well-held values within the community. For us to articulate that and bring a fine point to that through the cohesive strategy is an outstanding way for growth.
We've determined that about 80% of our fires are human caused, and with those human caused fires, they happen around population centers. With the communities on the reservations that we're responsible for, doing the prevention in and around those communities protects homes, protects lives, resources, cultural resources, a lot of value in the plants and the other archaeological sites that are out there. By preventing the fires, we are reducing that risk of damaging those resources. Since we've really taken an active role in wildfire prevention, we've seen a decline of human-caused fires over Indian country over the last 10 years of about 10%.
So there's this old saying that an ounce of prevention can bring a pound of cure. In the case of fire prevention education, which we've studied quite intensively in Florida, as well as the fire prevention programs occurring on tribal lands in many parts of the United States, we found that in fact, an additional dollar spent in fire prevention efforts in Florida actually avoided about an average of $35 in unwanted wildfire damages and suppression expenditures in that state.
We feel that the benefits are greater than the cost, and teams have been used historically throughout the southern region on federal, state, and local projects. And as a Forest Service line officer, I've had my own personal experience with fire prevention education teams in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, and I've observed firsthand the benefits that they provide through public outreach.
Overall, fire prevention education teams are very important for state forestry agencies. They help reduce human loss of life and property during a fire incident. They help reduce the cost of fire suppression. They help protect our forest resources. And most importantly, they help build community relationships.
Fire prevention teams go way back in Florida. We first used those in the 1990s, end of the 1990s, and the early 2000s. And we brought them in on our worst case scenarios when we had very severe fire threats. We had to reduce the additional fires, a lot of lightning fires. These teams helped us bring the human-caused fires down. And it helped us get that message out when our people were fully committed to fire response. They gave us that extra tool to help reduce the threat. Every fire they prevented was one less fire that we had to risk our firefighters' lives and the citizens' homes and resources in the state.
I think one of the greatest benefits of bringing in a fire prevention education team is getting people to the table who normally work together maybe in a different venue or under different circumstances, or bringing new people to the table that start to address the urgency of the need at hand.
That's sort of cool that
the fire prevention education teams kind of have a wide lane to go bring all of those folks to bear and be thinking of new partners that may have a new angle that might make it an even larger success and have it be able to live beyond the team's mobilization of a couple of weeks.
I'm frequently asked the question about how much money should go into prevention, when do you bring in a prevention team, and how do you justify it?
1 through 10.
I think you got to be proactive. I think you need to anticipate having a team there before the actual issue is realized. As the weather changes, as the conditions change, they're starting to be more mindful about what will the summer look like. I think we have a responsibility to bring calm to that. We can inform people and they can make better choices. We frequently can tell a story after it occurs, and yet if we want to get better at public safety, better at making better choices, you've got to be proactive and you've got to accept the responsibility to invest early so you get the payoff.
Fire prevention teams can tackle a tremendous amount of work in a short period of time, usually in a span of a few days, compared to what we as a forest may take months to accomplish if we could do it at all. Fire prevention teams are able to get up to speed quickly, make things happen, and then achieve results often within a week's time.
The mission of National Fire Prevention and Education Teams is to provide unit and agency managers with skilled and mobile personnel who have the ability to supplement or enhance ongoing local wildfire prevention and education activities where hazard or risk is, or is expected to be, elevated above normal.
And we'll be also looking at the construction of your home.
Teams are highly effective in their ability to reduce unwanted human-caused wildland ignitions and are equipped to rapidly complete on-site prevention assessments and plans, initiate implementation of such plans, and to begin immediate prevention and education activities. Fire prevention and education teams are interagency resources. These teams can come out and help any agency, whether local, state, tribal, or federal, to develop strategic approaches for fire prevention, fire education, and fire mitigation.
I'll go ahead and take this particular section.
The core positions that make up National Prevention Education Team and a local team are the same. There are 3 positions: a fire prevention team leader and team member, and an information officer.
A lot of these skill sets, I think you have to be a fire person or fire prevention person, and you don't always have to do that. We have a lot of people that definitely are graphic artists that are great, that can improve your pamphlets, your posters, and things like that. So you don't always have to be a person specifically in fire that wants to be part of those teams.
The way to order a team is that someone, a fire manager or a director or a state forester, someone has to recommend that you need to have a team brought in. And then they go through their local coordination center, and it's the same as ordering any other type of resource. We do have a schedule and a fire prevention program plan that is part of the MOB Guide, Chapter 30.
Overall, the fire prevention teams not only provide us results during the time of higher fire threat, but they get the public thinking about fire prevention and how they can protect themselves. And that's long-term. So we have short-term success and long-term success from fire prevention teams.
No, those aren't for you.
A great tool when you're into some very severe fire response.
The Wildland Fire Prevention and Education Teams are really an important tool to meet people where they live and to create and energize partnerships where we look at the complex issues and solutions together. If we're going to make a difference, it has to be a true partnership.